What's up guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Emma if you're new here, and I'd love to talk about all things cycling, Peloton, and fitness. So be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. I post every single Sunday, and today's video will be a fun one. I'm going to be reviewing the entire Our Future Selves collection on Peloton, which is the program that Ashton Kutcher has paired up with Peloton. He is running the New York City Marathon, so he's like training through these classes. He brings on a bunch of special guests. It's a 10-week program. Right now it's October 11th, so actually all the classes haven't come out yet, but a lot of them have, so I'm gonna start taking them to catch up and then finish out the collection once he releases the rest. But looking at the classes that are currently out, he gets some good guests. I see like Kim Kardashian, I see Natalie Portman. I just really don't know what to expect. They're all the tread classes. It's not super clear. I believe that he will be with a Peloton instructor for each class and then also sometimes have guests. The description of the collection is join Peloton, Ashton Kutcher, and some very special guests for a new way to experience running, a series that blends training, tips, and diving deep into finding our why. So these are all like 20 to 30 minute running classes. When I was in New York, I really cut running out of my workout routine because I was walking so much like every day that I honestly didn't feel like I needed to run or wanted to run when I was in the gym. But now that I'm back in Los Angeles, it's definitely something that I want to, pick up more, potentially do a race at some point. I have run a half marathon before. I'd love to run one again in the future. So I feel like these classes will be like a good balance of having fun and like doing something interesting, but also, getting the mileage up. So I'm really excited. I'm going to be doing 2 classes today, and they're the first 2 in the collection. So the first one I'm doing is 20-minute Our Future Selves premiere. It is from August 30th, 2022, and it has Bex Gentry in it, and I absolutely love Bex. So I'm excited to take this class. The description is join Ashton and Bex as he kicks off his training with this 20-minute premiere run. Walk or run along as he shares the motivation behind his marathon goals. And then right after that, I'm going to be doing the 10-minute Our Future Selves cool down run, also by Bex, and it's also from August 30th, 2022. And the description of this is cool it down with Bex and Ashton as they discuss Thorne's mission with Sarah Gardner, Thorne's VP of External Affairs. So I have like a vague idea what Thorne is. It's Ashton Kutcher's company that I believe is to like stop child sexual abuse on the internet, but I'm always excited to learn more. I think it'll be interesting. I don't follow like a lot of celebrities, so I don't really know what these people are up to. So, I'm willing to find out while we're running. So let's go to the gym and knock out these first 2 runs. I really enjoyed the first 2 classes, and I'm definitely excited to take the rest and see what kind of guests they have. In the premiere run, it was just Bex Gentry and Ashton Kutcher. It's not clear to me if Bex will be in every single one. It kind of is implied that it will be, which would be awesome because Bex is like one of my favorite running instructors. So that'd be great. And Ashton says that Bex is like his favorite running instructor too. It's also filmed in Ashton Kutcher's basement, which is a little odd. Like, I guess he probably didn't want to go into the studio. I don't even know where he lives. Like, he probably doesn't live in New York. But yeah, that was definitely interesting, but it makes for a cool vibe. So during the premiere run, it was definitely more focused on them talking rather than like having a super intense run, which makes sense. He is running the New York City Marathon, and these classes are training him for that. I put that in quotes because obviously you need to, do more than 20 minutes of running to actually train for a marathon, and I'm sure he is taking it very seriously. But the main reason he's doing it is to raise awareness for Thorne, which is a company he founded, which is trying to keep sexually explicit images and videos of children off the internet. Obviously a very good cause. And at least to my understanding, his company mostly develops technology that other companies can use to run on their platforms and detect this kind of content, take it down, and then also potentially like track down who posted it and, you know, help the kids. So obviously like very great work, and it's awesome that Peloton's partnering with him. I feel like it's mutually beneficial. He can raise awareness. People will take his classes because he's Ashton Kutcher, and, you know, everybody wins. Definitely a very cool partnership that Peloton managed to put together. So during the premiere run, we mostly just did like our marathon pace, and then our half marathon pace are like a little harder, and then our mile pace. And we did that twice, no incline, very chill. It was funny because Ashton Kutcher just kept talking about stuff, and Bex had to keep interrupting him and being like, oh, I need to like call out to like change what we're doing, because we'd be doing the same thing for like a couple of minutes. So then she had to like figure out how to interrupt him. The premiere run, it was just the two of them. They mostly talked about like why they were running the marathon, or why Ashton was running the marathon. Bex is pregnant, so she's not training currently. And then like what got Bex into running, and like that was interesting. And then the cool down, my only complaint with the cool down is, again, they were talking so much, so I feel like we ran for a really long portion of the cool down, when I like to walk for a large portion for my cool down, but I kind of just like did my own thing while listening to them. They had the CEO of Thorne along with Ashton and Bex, and she kind of talked more about what the company does. It was very interesting. It was a fine cool down, and then we were done for the day. So definitely nice to kind of ease back into running with a shorter class, and then like the cool down is way more chill than like the actual class. And I'm excited to keep on taking these courses. I highly recommend the first two. And the biggest surprise of taking these classes, actually, because I haven't taken a Peloton tread class in a while, so I have no clue when they did this. And I actually usually take it on my iPad, but I don't have my watch connected to my iPad. I like don't think that it's possible. I have a pretty old iPad, but I forgot my iPad, so I was doing it on my phone, and my phone can connect to my Apple Watch, and it could track my mileage, which I don't think that was possible until like semi-recently. So I can see my mileage on the Peloton app if I use my phone to take the class. So I'll definitely be doing that, because I like having all of my tracking in one place. Like, I think that's an amazing feature for somebody that doesn't have the tread. It's cool that you can see your mileage in the Peloton app. I can like do the challenges. Before, you could do the running challenges, but only like your outdoor miles would count. So it's definitely cool that my Apple Watch can predict like how long I run, and it's fairly accurate with what the treadmill says, and then it comes up on my Peloton app. So that was also a very exciting part of today, because I did not know that that was a feature that they added. But I'm definitely excited to take the rest of these classes, see what other guests they have. I think that this will be a really fun series. It is now 2 days later. It's Thursday morning, and I'm ready for my next run in this Future Selves collection. And I am very excited for this run. It is the 30-minute Our Future Selves Kim Kardashian run, taught by Robin Arzon, so I guess Bex will not be in this one. But I am excited. I don't really follow the Kardashians, but I am interested to see what she has to say. I think it's pretty cool that she came onto the show and is like helping Ashton raise awareness. The information is: join Ashton and Robin Arzon for a surprising conversation with future lawyer, business mogul, and reality TV star Kim Kardashian. Run or walk along as Kim shares her why. It will definitely be interesting. I don't really know what to expect. Probably another chill run, but I'm interested to see what she says. So let's go to the gym and knock out this run. I really enjoyed that run. I think that I'll like pretty much all of the runs in this series. It seems like the idea will be that you basically just go from like marathon pace to tempo pace to mile pace and then recover, which makes sense because if you're adjusting incline and like doing sprints and stuff, like that's not really conducive to having a conversation, which is definitely what these runs are about. Like, honestly, I feel like Ashton Kutcher could have his own podcast and just like talk that way, but it's nice that, you know, there's a Peloton class going in the background, so get a little exercise while I'm listening to him. But it was really interesting to hear Kim Kardashian speak. I feel like I don't know a lot about her, but she held herself very well. And I thought she was also funny because at the beginning, we obviously did a warm up and Robin did say that we could walk, but her and Ashton just started running. And Kim's like, wait, didn't you just say that we were supposed to walk? And they're like, oh, like you can do whatever. And she's like, all right, I'm gonna walk. And it was just funny because she's like, yeah, I've like never used Peloton before. And you could tell she was a little confused at times, but I think she did a pretty good job. She also had her hair down, which I was like, I cannot do that for any amount of exercise. I was impressed that she could run at all with her hair down. But the actual content of the run was mostly talking about the like good work that Kim has done, which I did not know at all. They talked about how she got PPE for some New York City hospital, like right at the beginning of the pandemic, how she helped the Afghanistan women's soccer team get away to safety last summer. So really a lot of interesting work about how she's becoming a lawyer, which I had like heard things about that, but I really didn't know anything. And it seems like she wants to be a lawyer to help people that have had like wrongful convictions get free, which is really awesome. Like it seemed really great. I kind of like that they focused on a lot of like more of her like charity work and kind of like good work to the universe compared to kind of like all the other drama that goes on in her life. And I feel like that kind of goes on the headlines. And she definitely downplayed like a lot of the stuff that she does, which was interesting. Like, is she just really humble? I don't really know. It seemed very odd that she wasn't like, oh yeah, like I did all this work, like even to get the women's soccer team out of Afghanistan, she's like, oh yeah, I just like made a few calls. And for the PPE, she basically said the same thing. And Ashton's like, oh, well, it's because you already had like the supply chain set up because you already have a company that manufactures textiles. And like, she was very chill about it. It was interesting. And honestly, it made me like her a lot. I feel like she's kind of controversial, but did not know a lot about her. So it was really interesting to hear her talk. And the only other thing that I noticed is that Robin really took a step back in this run. I feel like when Robin does like celebrity guests, like when she did the Lizzo ride, she really went back and forth with Lizzo. But in this run, she really kind of just let Ashton take the lead. She did not talk a lot. Like she might have interjected a couple times and she had to like keep the pace of the class. But besides that, she really took a back seat, which was interesting. I would have loved to see her kind of talk more, but I also respect her for like letting Ashton take the lead. I would highly recommend if you're interested in listening to, you know, like what Kim Kardashian is up to. I thought it was pretty interesting, pretty cool, and I'm definitely excited for the next one of these. It is now Friday, and you know, I love Fridays, but before we get into the weekend, we have one workout and one day of work. So for the workout today, I'm going to be doing the Next Future Selves run, which is a 30-minute Our Future Selves Chris Paul run taught by Alex Toussaint. So, you know, mixing up who's on the tread a little bit. It was released on September 13th, 2022. And the description is, when pressure sets in, how can your why help you level up? Ashton and AT find out from legendary point guard Chris Paul in this run where friendly competition fuels the workout. So I do not know anything about basketball, so I don't know who Chris Paul is, but you know, I'm excited to see what he has to say. This series has been good so far. And you know, you also get in a little bit of a workout. So let's go to the gym and knock out this run. This run was fine, but I didn't think it was like amazing. I definitely like the other runs we've done in this series more. First off, same exact, you know, format as all the other ones. We're doing like marathon tempo, mile run pace, recovery. Pretty simple. I don't know if it's just because I don't really know who Chris Paul is because I don't follow sports. Like maybe if you're a really big basketball fan, like you should check it out because you'd probably appreciate it more than me. But I feel like I still like don't know anything about him. Like I'm sure he's done other interviews, which if I had more context, I would have been able to follow along more. But like he talks about his grandfather getting murdered, but I like have no context around that. And then like how that was inspiring to him. But besides that, like, I really still don't know what he is doing. I don't know, like, what his day-to-day is like. I just feel like I learned nothing about them, and they talked for the whole entire class. And in the moment, it wasn't bad. Like, they were joking, they were having fun, they were having a little competition. But I don't know, it just felt like at the end, I was like, I don't think I learned anything from this. And like, you don't have to learn anything from a Peloton class, but I definitely felt like yesterday, I like came away with things to think about. And today I just, you know, it was still a good workout, still had a good time. The other thing is Alex like did not talk at all. Like, he was doing the call outs and that's literally it. Like, he was not contributing, which I wonder if this was like worked out with Ashton before the class started or before the series started, that like he would be the person talking for the majority of the class. I just feel like it's kind of weird because I don't know, like, I guess Ashton's mostly interviewing the other guest, but it's awkward that Alex is just like there and not saying anything, especially since like Alex and like Robin yesterday have such outgoing personalities. It's kind of interesting that they're just like in the corner and they're just doing the call outs. But honestly, not a bad run. Still got a little bit of a workout in, and I think it is like really funny to watch Ashton. I think that you can tell he really enjoys doing this, and he definitely admires the people that he brings on the show, which is cool in itself. Like, it's cool to see him have so much appreciation for a person that he brings on. So, you know, not a horrible run, not a great one, kind of middle, but I'm excited for the rest. It is now like a week and a half later. It is a Tuesday. Life got in the way last week. Haven't had a chance to run in a while, but I'm ready to get back on the grind. And the next class in this series is a 30-minute Our Future Selves run with Natalie Portman, and it's taught by Bex Gentry. So I'm excited that my girl Bex is back. It was released on September 20th, 2022. And I think that this will probably be structured pretty similarly to the other runs. I'm excited to see what Natalie Portman has to say. I feel like we'll learn this, and we've already kind of learned this. I do not know a lot about celebrities. So yeah, let's hear what she has to say. I do not know a lot about Natalie Portman. Let's go to the gym and just get this run right on in. I really enjoyed the run with Natalie Portman. I thought the topic of conversation was pretty interesting. I feel like she talked a lot about like being a woman, which obviously I can relate to that. She kind of addressed like how I believe she's now like the Hulk or something in a new movie. I'm not a big movie person, but how that role required her to like be really big and like bulk up, and how it was such a juxtaposition to like a lot of her other roles and just being a woman in general, that like you want to be like as small as possible. And it was really interesting. Natalie and Ashton had been on a movie together. I forget if it was No Strings Attached. I think so, because I get them mixed up with the one that Mila Kunis is in too, since they're basically the same plot. And it was funny because Ashton like did say that as well. But yeah, that was cool. And then she also talked a lot about a cause that she supports, which is helping incarcerated people like after they get out and like actually get jobs, because it's really hard to get a job if you've like been incarcerated. So it was really interesting to kind of hear like her story on like how she's helping out with that and like what led her to that. So definitely a cool episode. Got to learn a lot more about Natalie, and it was easier than the other classes that I've taken. There was a lot of walking recovery, or not like a lot, but I believe there was at least 6 to 7 minutes of walking recovery, which they said you could do like a light jog or a walk, but you know, when it's given to me, I'm gonna take the walk. And especially at the beginning, I was like, wow, this is like going pretty well. We were basically doing like 2 minutes at marathon pace, 2 minutes at tempo, 2 minutes at marathon, and then like walk. So I was like, oh, this is easy. Then Beck started throwing in like a 1 minute mile pace, which, you know, is hard, but it's only 1 minute. And we were like getting a lot of recovery. So I was like, oh, I'm feeling really good. Like, I wasn't planning on doing anything else at the gym today. So, you know, I am going to do another run after this. Like, I can just do the next one in this series, like get my mileage up. I have been wanting to try some longer runs and I just like haven't gotten back into it. So I was like, perfect. And then the end of the run, run was really hard. It was like marathon, tempo, marathon, mile pace, like tempo, mile pace. I don't know if that was exactly the order, but it was like a lot of mile paces with not as much recovery. So then I was like, I don't want to do 30 more minutes, but I could commit to doing 20 more minutes. So I went ahead, I believe like one or two, and there was a 20-minute Our Future Selves run with only Dennis Morton from September 27th, 2022. So it was just Dennis and Ashton talking, and they had a really good on-screen chemistry in my opinion. I just feel like the conversation flowed really naturally. They both have causes that they were passionate about that were pretty similar, so it was interesting to kind of hear about that. And then they also talked about like getting arrested. I don't think Dennis said what he did, but Ashton like broke into his high school when he was young and like got arrested for it, which was interesting. I didn't know that. I'm not like a huge Ashton Kutcher fan, so I don't know if that's like common knowledge, but it was interesting for them to talk about it and for Ashton to be like, I think it's important for like famous people, for celebrities to, you know, say if you've like done something bad in the past, to like not hide that away, to kind of like show that it's okay to make mistakes and like you can correct your mistakes from the past, which I thought was really interesting. And it was just like a cool conversation. And the whole time we were doing like basically we were getting a lot of like minute recoveries and then like 90 seconds of like mile pace, which is almost a sprint for me. We did like some longer intervals, but it was not that easy of a run. But I do kind of like HIIT more than just like tempo runs sometimes. So it was nice to mix it up, and it was nice since like in this series, I feel like a lot of the runs are more like slower and even compared to like HIIT where you're like walking and then sprinting. So it was nice to, you know, mix it up a little bit. I also think, going back to the first run, that Bex is like one of the best instructors that really keeps people on pace, and like the call outs are at the right time. I feel like some of the other instructors like don't want to interrupt, but Bex is just like, nope, all right, it's time to like do tempo run or whatever, which I appreciate, because obviously we want to hear what they say, but like I also want to do the intervals. I want my recovery in time. I like want to do the full interval. So it's nice that, you know, Bex is there to kind of like keep us on track. But Dennis did like pretty decent job, but I think it's a little easier when there's only two of them compared to three. So overall, really liked both of the runs today, and I thought they were a little bit different than the ones I've taken before. So I'm excited to see what the rest of them are like. It is now another week later. It's the following Tuesday, and wow, this video is really getting spaced out. My last official day at Equinox was yesterday though, so now I'm on my own again, so I think I will be running some more. And I signed up for a turkey trot. It's only a 10K, so like not super intense, but you know, I need to practice a little bit. Like I need to make sure I can run that far outside. So today I'm actually going to be running outdoors to the Our Future Selves classes. I feel like these classes are really great for outdoor running because you just set 0.5 incline at the beginning to simulate like an outdoor road. So I can just go on the outdoor road, and then pretty much everything else is just like rate of exertion. So really easy to transfer to outdoors. I haven't run outdoors since July, I believe, when I was home in Pennsylvania. So it's not different than a treadmill, but you know, it's nice to just get some practice outdoors. So the first class that I'm going to be doing is the next class in the series, which is a 30-minute Our Future Selves run with Chesney with Dennis Morton from September 27th, 2022. The description is what keeps Grammy-winning country artist Chesney grounded. Join Ashton and Dennis to find out in this 30-minute run set to some of his most popular songs. And I don't know country music that well, so I don't know if I'll recognize any of this, but I feel like some people are like, I don't like country music, but I enjoy country music. I just don't listen to it a lot. I like having these interviews with people I don't know much about because, yeah, you just learn something new. And then we're gonna see if that 30 minutes is good or not. If I am feeling good, I want to try to tack on the 20-minute Our Future Selves run with Adrian Williams only, so no celebrity. It's a shorty, it's only 20 minutes. It's from October 4th, 2022, and the description is, what does it mean to bring the thunder? Ashton finds out in this revealing 20-minute run with Adrian that dives deeper into the life-changing event behind Ashton's marathon goals. So we'll see. If I feel good, I would love to run 50 minutes because that should be close to a 10K, but really gonna keep the expectations low since I haven't ran outside for a while. So, let's just hit the road and do these 2 classes. I managed to do both runs. After the first one, I was feeling pretty good. I do think that LA is like the perfect temperature to run outside right now, especially since I usually run outside in Pennsylvania. And I don't know if there's ever a good time to run outside in Pennsylvania, to be honest, because either it's too cold or it's too hot and humid. And LA is so dry, so that's really nice. And then I ran around, I think like 7:30 a.m. The temperature was like 55 and then it warmed up to 60 by the time that I was done. And that is such a nice temperature. Like it's a little chilly when you start, but then once you get into it and warm up, it's just perfect. So I was feeling really good after the 30-minute. I was like, I can definitely do the 20-minute afterwards. And I think I did like 5.8 miles between the 2, which I am pretty happy with. I was feeling pretty good at the end. I really do want to get back into running half marathons. I only have run one, and that was last year. So, gotta start somewhere and really start getting the mileage up. But both of these runs I really enjoyed. I just think Ashton is so funny and like happy, and you can really tell that he prepared for all of these very seriously, which I appreciate. Like he could have half-assed this and he did not. So the first run with Kenny and Dennis, obviously Dennis didn't talk a lot. None of the instructors do when they have real celebrities on. But the first run with Dennis and Kenny was interesting. I mean, I didn't know anything about Kenny. I don't think he said anything like revolutionary, but it was interesting to see Ashton like geek out over him. Like he definitely really liked Kenny's music. He said that he told his wife he loved her to like one of Kenny's songs, and they kind of talked about how like Kenny has stayed in the industry for so long and like how he did that. And essentially Kenny is just like, I surround myself with good people. I like treat myself well. They were kind of generic answers, but you could also tell like he gave a lot of examples about how like a lot of people on his team he's known since he was really young, like in elementary school and like things like that. So it was interesting to listen to. I enjoyed his music, running to it. Something that I don't typically run to, but good vibes all around. And Kenny had a foundation and so did Dennis, and they talked about their foundations a little bit. But honestly, I think it's harder to pay attention to the audio when I'm running outdoors. Like I found myself like zoning out sometimes, and I don't know if that's because I wasn't like as interested in this guest or if it's because I was just like running kind of hard. So it was hard to focus. But overall, pretty good run. I thought it was interesting. I'd recommend it. It was, again, just a flat road the whole time. And then you had different paces. So like marathon pace, tempo pace, mile run. So I would highly recommend if you need outdoor running content. And then the 20-minute run with Adrian was actually really interesting. They kind of started out talking about like advice from coaches, and a lot of that kind of boiled down to just because like you are faster or stronger doesn't mean that you're like better, and that it also matters like what you're doing outside of these exercises, which I thought was interesting to listen to. But then the really interesting part, which I do not follow celebrities at all, so this is probably very well documented, but I did not know this. Ashton talked about a autoimmune disease that he had that was really debilitating and just like really screwed up his life, and it was really hard on him physically to recover from that. And now to like have this goal of running a marathon, I actually found like very motivating. I have even said in the past I want to run a marathon, and that is still true. So it really made me feel like, wow, I should like really be taking advantage of the present when I am in good health, fortunately, and like have the ability to do this and like get more serious about running a marathon. So I actually found that really motivating, and it was like really interesting to listen to. I just didn't know that that happened in his life at all. This whole series is definitely very, very pro Ashton, but like I have really been enjoying listening to him talk and like talk about his life experiences. So highly, highly recommend that run. I thought it was very, very interesting to listen to. And I kind of like when the Peloton instructors like go back and forth more with Ashton rather than just being in the background. It is cool to see like the real celebrities too, but I like the Peloton instructors obviously. So it was interesting to kind of hear Adrian's conversation with Ashton about this. And again, Adrian's run was a flat road. You just went different paces and very easy to convert to outdoors. So overall, both these runs I really enjoyed. I think the Adrian run might be one of my favorite runs though. I really like the Kim Kardashian run as well. So those two I think have been my top so far, but yeah, really great runs today, and I'm excited to continue the series. It is now a couple days later. It's Friday, and I love Fridays, but first we gotta get through a workout and a full day of work before the weekend, but you know, it's coming. So today I'm just gonna be doing one class from the Our Future Selves. It is the 30-minute Our Future Selves Adam Grant run with Adrian Williams from October 4th, 2022. And the description is organizational psychologist, professor, and best-selling author Adam Grant joins Ashton and Adrian on the tread to help unpack why we do the things we do, like run a marathon. And I literally have no clue who Adam Grant is. Like a lot of these other people I've heard, at least in the back of my mind. Adam Grant is not one of them. So I'm definitely excited to see like what he says, how he introduces himself. I think it should be a pretty interesting run. I don't even really know what an organizational psychologist is. So I guess it's time to learn today and get a workout in. Let's go hit the tread. That class was very interesting. It kind of felt like a therapy session for Ashton. So it started off in terms of exercising. It was probably one of the easiest classes that I've done in this collection so far. We had like a long warm up. I believe the first 3 minutes or 4 minutes was walking, which is not common in these classes. And then we went up to like a light jog and then like only added like 0.2. So at that point, I think I was going like 5.7, and that made up the entire 7 minutes of the warm up. So warm up was very easy. Then the rest of the class was like pretty typical. You just go from marathon to tempo, like back down to recovery to marathon tempo, mile pace. And yeah, it was just very like normal. In terms of the class content, that's the interesting part. So Adam Grant, didn't learn a ton about him specifically, besides that he's written a bunch of books and he's a professor at Morton. So that was interesting, I guess. And Ashton has read all of the books, or at least he said that he had. He seemed very passionate about this dude. After that introduction, we went into some topics about like things that Ashton's feeling. One of them was like, are you a good person if you're like running this marathon for Thorne, but then also like because you have like personal reasons for wanting to run a marathon? And Adam is like, you could be selfish and selfless, like at the same time. You can have multiple motives. And then they also talked for a while about how like Ashton had wanted to run 13 miles, but then he stopped at 10 miles because he like felt really bad. And then after the run, he was like very disappointed in himself for not being able to complete the 13 miles, and a lot about how like, does working out like tie to your worth? And then also Adam's like, why do you even care about your time? Like you're doing it for Thorne. And yeah, it was very interesting. Just, they really got in there, talked about some interesting topics. I learned a lot about Ashton's fears, I guess. Definitely an odd one compared to the other ones, but it was not bad. Like it was entertaining, and I feel like I understand more how Ashton's mind works after that one. So if you really want to like see some live action therapy, I would highly recommend this run. If you want an easier run in the collection, I would also recommend this one. Thought it was like pretty chill, but also pretty entertaining at the same time. It's the next day, it's Saturday. It's, you know, a little later in the morning. You can sleep in on Saturdays. but I'm going to be doing another Our Future Selves run today, and I'll be doing the 30-minute Our Future Selves run with Allison Felix by Bex Gentry. So excited to see Bex is back, from October 11th, 2022. And the description is, does Ashton have what it takes to train alongside the most decorated U.S. Olympic track athlete ever? Find out in this run with Allison Felix and Bex that delve into the why that drives her as an athlete and mother. So I don't know much about Allison, so I'm excited to listen to whatever she has to say. And a side note is this entire Our Future Selves collection is like over in real time. It's like early November right now. So they've like pushed it way down. Like it's way harder to find on the app now. I have to scroll through quite a few collections to find it, which is interesting because I feel like this is like one of their most unique offerings on the platform right now. So I feel like they should keep promoting it. But I don't know, maybe everyone has already taken it, but it's harder to find now, but I can find it. So let's go to the gym and get this a run in. I finished my run and I liked the run today, but I also like low-key died during it. So first I'll talk about like the technical portion of the run. I thought this run was harder than the other runs in this collection. This is definitely the hardest run in my opinion. I also had a big breakfast this morning, so like that could definitely play into the effects because towards the end I was like, oof, maybe I shouldn't have done this 30-minute run. But we started out, we had like a 5-minute warm-up, everything was great. And then Bex is like, go up to 3%. And I'm like, what? Like we haven't done any incline this entire collection. Why are we adding incline now? And I think it was just like the incline slash possibly big breakfast, but it just killed me. Like I haven't done incline in a really long time. I've just been running flat, and that humbled me real fast because we were doing like marathon pace to mile pace to marathon pace to mile pace to marathon pace again. I believe we went back 3 times, and like the 3% incline, even Ashton was like, wait, can I take the 3% off? And Bex is like, no. And I was like, I feel you, Ashton. Like, this was hard. And then thankfully for like the last 10 minutes, we could finally take the 3% off, and it was a flat road. But at that point, the damage had already been done. So definitely, if you want like a little bit of incline, take this run. In terms of content, I actually really enjoyed the content and like the things that they discussed. So it started off, Ashton was like, first off, I'd like to just acknowledge that like I'm literally between like an Olympic runner and then somebody else that's like an incredible runner as well. And like, I'm just here. And I do feel like Bex was a lot more comfortable like talking to Allison. Like they kind of had some discourse. It was like more of a conversation between the three of them compared to a lot of the other runs where the Peloton instructor is just like kind of in the background yelling out call outs. So I appreciated it. I thought it provided a like better, more natural conversation. So yeah, they talked about like who supported Allison in her life, like how she knew to get into running. And then they spent a lot of time talking about being a woman in sports and becoming pregnant, and like how usually when you become pregnant, it kind of just like ruins your career. Like that's over by. And Allison has already had a kid and Bex is pregnant. So it does feel like, you know, a good topic that like they have a lot of experience with. So I just thought that was a really like interesting conversation. And they say that Allison has helped like alleviate that, although I'm not exactly like sure what she's done. I'm not totally educated on the matter. So I'd be curious to know like more about like what her work is like. But she also talked a lot about how like she wants to set a good example for her daughter, and that like her daughter in the future, if she wants a family, if she doesn't want a family, like she can make that decision and it doesn't have an impact on like the career she has, which I feel like is, you know, still a valid talking point today. Like it's still a big problem. So yeah, I really appreciated the talk. I thought it was very interesting. And they also talked about Allison's training schedule, which was also interesting in my opinion because she's a sprinter. So she's like, yeah, my long run days are like 20 minutes. And then like a lot of her work is just like 600-meter sprints, which sound very hard on their own. It's just very different from like Bex and Ashton's marathon training. It was interesting to hear about. I had never really like thought about it. So yeah, overall, I really like the contents of this run, but the 3% incline, ooh, That was definitely a little harder. It really humbled me. It is now Monday morning and I'm ready to kick off the week with another run. So the class up today is the 30-minute Our Future Selves, Dr. David Agus with Emma Lovewell from October 18th, 2022. And the description is, life is a marathon, movement is medicine, and listening to your body is key. Ashton and Emma Lovewell are joined by the world-renowned physician and author Dr. David Agus to discuss these mantras and more. And I have no clue who this person is. We'll find out on this run. And yeah, let's just hit the gym and do this run and, hopefully learn something. That run was definitely an interesting run. So technically, I thought that the callouts were actually a little bit weird. It was the same thing that we've been doing this whole time, where it's like recovery, marathon pace, tempo, mile, but it was easier than the majority of runs. Like the first 7 minutes was just like a light jog, and then we did 2 or 3 minutes at marathon pace and then did recovery again. Like there was just a lot of recovery. And then I feel like, I don't know if Emma missed some of the call outs or I missed them. I just felt like it was structured very weirdly. Like there was one point where we went from marathon tempo to mile to recovery, but we only did that once. Besides that, the other intervals were all kind of weird in my opinion. But the incline was flat the whole time. It was very similar to the other classes in this collection. It was just interesting. And then the actual content, also interesting because when you start the class, a warning comes up and it's basically Peloton doesn't necessarily agree with the advice offered in this, and basically we don't endorse this, go to a doctor. Happy listening. It's a very long waiver. I couldn't read all of it because it only flashed on the screen for 5 seconds, but I was okay, what's gonna happen in this class now? That was definitely an interesting start. I didn't think the contents were that bad. It was just interesting. So basically Dr. David Agus is a celebrity oncologist / other general physician as well. So he was Steve Jobs oncologist and other people's oncologists. And then also he's written some books. So the entire class was just Ashton asking him kind of random health questions. And, I agreed with some things that he said. I disagreed with some things that he said. It was interesting dialogue, I guess. I will say one thing that I did like about it is when he offered advice, for the most part, he was you should go to a doctor though, talk to your doctor and see if it's right for you. Don't just take blanket advice, which I appreciated. I feel that's always good advice. But yeah, definitely a more interesting class. And I don't know if I would recommend it. It just depends, do you want to hear health advice and how legitimate do you think this guy is, I guess. I appreciate that Ashton brings on a lot of different guests so that all of these are very different, right? The conversation that we had today was very different than the conversation with Kim Kardashian, which was very different than the conversation we were having with Allison Felix. So he does keep it interesting. But yeah, I don't know. I could probably skip this one just because I didn't think that the content was that interesting. And then I thought that the technical callouts were also a little off, but overall not a bad class, just not a great one. It is now Wednesday morning and today is going to be a longer run day because I'm not going to be doing any other exercise. So I'm going to be stacking 2 of the Our Future Selves classes and I'm very excited about both of them. The first one is a 30-minute Our Future Selves Thomas Rhett with Bex from October 18th, 2022. And the description is, country singer and songwriter Thomas Rhett steps up to the challenge and joins Ashton and Bex for this 30-minute run where they discuss goal setting, pushing the envelope, authenticity in art, and of course a whole lot of fishing. And I know Thomas Rhett. I know I've heard his music before, so I'm excited to see what he says. It's always good when you know the person that is going to be the guest star. And I love Bex, so I'm happy that she is the lead on this class. And then afterwards, I'm going to stack this with a 20-minute Our Future Selves run with Alex Toussaint from October 25th, 2022. And it's just Alex, no guest. The description is, getting to the finish line takes grit, determination, and never losing sight of your why. Join Ashton and Alex Toussaint for a conversation about what drives them. And I like when it's just the Peloton instructor and Ashton. Feel like they usually have some pretty good, interesting combos. And I'm interested to see what Alex says. So we got a really good lineup today. Definitely going to be a little farther in distance, but I actually feel like 50 minutes of running is like a really good length for me if I'm not doing anything else that day. So let's go to the gym and hit the treadmill. I enjoyed both of those runs. The one with Thomas, Rhett, and Bex Gentry was definitely very hard in my opinion. I don't know if I'm just like tired today, but I felt like it was harder than the other classes in this series. We just did a lot of mile pace work. Like at the end, we did 3 minutes of our mile pace, which I think is like the longest that we've ever done of mile pace. I go 8 speed for my mile pace, which is probably a little faster than my real mile pace. So when we're holding it for 3 minutes, like that is quite a push. But the rest of the class was pretty similar to everything else. We do warm up, we go marathon pace, tempo pace, mile pace, recovery, etc., etc. And the contents of the class was pretty fun. I feel like Thomas and Ashton are friends in real life. Like they seem to have a really good like chemistry. And they talked about kind of a lot of goofy stuff, just like random things. Like Ashton's like, oh, how many fish do you think you've caught in your life? And there was definitely some questionable math going on when they were trying to figure out how many fish they thought they caught. But, you know, it was funny. It was good. They played a lot of Thomas Rhett music, but they also played like random music. So I don't know if he wrote the other songs because there were songs not by Thomas Rhett. They didn't really address that. So I wasn't completely sure on that, but they also got onto the topic about how Thomas Rhett adopted his daughter, I believe, from Uganda, and how him and his wife had to live in Uganda for like 8 months before they could adopt her. And I thought that was really interesting. Like, I don't know much about Thomas Rhett. I just know his music. So it was definitely cool to like hear about that experience. So they did get into like more serious topics after they goofed around for a little bit. So overall, fun run. Like if you like Thomas Rhett, I would suggest to take it. You would learn a lot about him. And then the Alex Toussaint and Ashton Kutcher run was a little bit easier, thankfully, because I was feeling pretty dead after that 30-minute run. I was like, I don't know if I want to do this 20 minutes. But I was like, you know what? Long run day, we can push through. Thankfully, the first 5 minutes was like walk and light jog warm up. And then the rest of the class was actually a lot of like little pushes. So kind of like HIIT, where we would like push the mile pace and then get recovery. We also did like some like tempo mile recovery things. So kind of all over the place, but it was only 15 minutes. So it wasn't like a full blown class. And I still enjoyed it, especially because there was a little more recovery in this one than the previous run with Bex and Thomas. And Alex and Ashton actually like really got into it about their childhood. I don't know if I knew this about Alex Toussaint, but he like had gone to a bunch of schools and got kicked out of them for various reasons. And then he went to military school when he was in 6th grade to kind of like set him on the straight and narrow. So for Alex, he went from like living in the Bronx, I believe, like living in New York City, to like the middle of nowhere, while Ashton grew up in the middle of nowhere. I believe he grew up in like Iowa and then like moved to New York City and is like experiencing the complete opposite. So that was definitely interesting and kind of just like talking about their life experiences. I thought it was very eye-opening. So if you like Alex or you just like want to hear about his experience growing up and Ashton's experience as well, I would highly recommend this run. I think that yeah, it was definitely one of the more interesting topics in my opinion, and they kind of covered a lot in the short amount of time they had. Also, I meant to mention this in my last run, but this past weekend was the New York City Marathon and Ashton completed it. I believe his time was like 3 hours and 54 minutes, which I think is pretty impressive and pretty awesome that he managed to achieve his goal. Definitely very motivating. So it's kind of fun to like take these classes now where he talks about training for it and to like know that he trained for it successfully and did a really good job, especially considering how hot it was in New York City. I can't even imagine like your first marathon. That would definitely be hard. So kind of a cool thing that's happened, but you know, we're still taking the training classes. It is now Friday, and you know I love Fridays, and today's a federal holiday. It's Veterans Day, so I have off, so even better, and no excuse to not get a workout in. I took a rest day yesterday, and I'm feeling very good today. So today, the class up is a 30-minute Our Future Selves run with Alex and Bex. So this is kind of interesting. We're bringing back Alex Toussaint, and Bex is also going to be there. And the description is, it's game time. Find out where AT finds the extra juice to grind through. So I'm excited. I like when the Peloton instructors are in charge, and I love Alex, love Bex, love Ashton. Let's just go to the gym and get this running. I really like that run. Technically, I didn't think the actual talking content was that great, but to start off, technically we like did a warm up, and then we kind of got into the set, and I feel like the set in this was more defined than a normal set. But essentially it was 4 minutes of work, 2 minutes of recovery, and we did that 4 times. The first 4 minutes of work was just tempo pace, and then we got into adding a minute of mile pace each time. So the next one was 1 minute tempo, 3 minute mile pace, then 2 minute tempo, 2 minute mile pace, and then we finished with 1 minute tempo, 3 minute mile pace. So definitely a harder run, but then there's 2 minutes recovery. She says you can walk or jog. I walked because not every day needs to be a hard run, and I feel like it allowed me to really push myself on the intervals. And yeah, overall I really like the technical structure of the run. The content talking wise was not bad. I just feel like first there was kind of like a lot of overlap from just Alex Toussaint's run with Ashton, and then I'm not sure, but I feel like they filmed this earlier than a lot of the other ones, because first Ashton gives this long introduction about how he's going to be asking people for their why, but Alex Toussaint's other class came out, and then I feel like Ashton hasn't given that introduction in a while. We kind of know the drill now. We're very far into this collection, and I felt like there was a lot of repeat from just Alex's run in general. But one thing that I did think was interesting was that Ashton asked Bex about how it feels to be a woman, and have you ever been discriminated against or had stuff happen to her as a woman specifically. And she was yeah, people come up to me and are wow, you're so fast for a woman. And it's imagine going up to Bex Gentry, literally the women's winner of the NYC marathon, and is you're fast, but only for a woman. That's crazy to me. Besides that, they talked about Alex's charity work. They talked about the worst jobs that they ever had and what keeps them going. Wasn't bad content. I just don't think that it was as interesting as some of the other talks, but technically it was very good, so I'll let it slide. I still thought it was a good run. Really got my mile pace intervals in, which are always hard, but we had a lot of recovery, so still really liked the run for today. It is now Sunday morning, and I'm ready for my next run. It is the 30-minute Our Future Selves with John Batiste. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his last name right. I don't know who this is. It's with Bex Gentry, always a good thing, from November 1st, 2022. And the description is, legendary singer, songwriter, musician, and activist John Batiste joins Ashton and Bex to discuss breaking barriers and the power of the subconscious mind as we become our future selves. So I literally don't know anything about this person, so I'm ready to just hit the tread and I guess learn a little bit about him. I thought that this class was just kind of okay again, very similar to the last class I took where I liked it technically, but then I didn't think the conversation was anything amazing, but it could also be because I don't know John or have heard of his music before. The actual set itself I really liked. We did a 7-minute warm-up, which was just jogging, and then we did 2 minutes of marathon pace, 2 minutes of mile pace, 2 minutes of recovery, and we did that 4 times. And for my recovery, I usually did a minute of walking and then a minute of like very light jog. My light jog is like around 5.2. My marathon, I try to do 6.2, and then my mile is 8. And 2 minutes at 8 speed is definitely a push for me, but I felt like the recovery time was really good. It brought my heart rate back down, and then I could like work back up to it by going into the marathon pace. I did really like the set, but in terms of content, they kind of lost me. First off, it was interesting because Ashton is like, oh, I like met John like 3 weeks ago at a concert. And it's like, what? He's just like, oh, like come run on Peloton with me. I didn't quite understand that. But John is a blues artist and they played his music. Like his music was good. I never heard of it before, but I don't listen to blues music. And they talked a lot about like his why he performs. And like essentially it was like music brings people together, even if you don't know people, which seems fine. Like, yeah, that seems like a good reason. And they talked about that for a while, but I really feel like they didn't really have any other topics to talk about. And I don't know, it definitely could be that I didn't know John well, but I just feel like it wasn't like that interesting compared to some of the other talks. So I'd recommend if you know John. If you don't, I would probably say you can skip unless you're just trying to take all of them like I am. But overall, I liked the technical set a lot. So it still like wasn't a bad run at all. Went by very fast. It just like wasn't my absolute favorite. It is now the next day. It's Monday morning and I'm ready for my last run in this collection. It is a 20-minute Our Future Selves finale run with Bex from November 1st, 2022. And the description is, Ashton gets closer to the starting line and reflects on his training while Bex shares important race day tips and tricks in this finale shakeout run. So sounds like an easy run. I'm excited. It will be a little sad when this is over because I like not having to think about what run I'm going to do. But this video has taken a long time to film. I've only been taking these runs for like a month and a half at this point. So I am ready for the finale, ready to see Ashton and Bex one more time. So let's go to the gym and do this 20-minute easy shakeout run. That was a good finale run. It just kind of wrapped everything up. It was just Bex and Ashton, and we did a jogging warm up for I think like 4 minutes. And then Bex was like, set it either marathon pace or lower, and we're just gonna run for the rest of the time, 0.5 incline, like shakeout run, not hard at all. You know, if you're taking this like right before a marathon, just chill. So I did 6.2, which is like usually what I do for marathon pace, and just had a good run. And Ashton and Bex just kind of like chatted about random things, but it feels like I've been on this journey with them this long, so I will listen to them chat for a little bit more. Bex gave some like New York City marathon tips. They talked about country music. They talked about like Ashton, you know, running the marathon. He hasn't run it yet in this situation, but I feel like they just kind of like wrap it up. They talk about some of the guests they had, and then it's pretty much over. So I definitely wouldn't recommend this one to be like the first one you take, but if you take a lot of them, I feel like it's a nice conclusion to the collection. And I have taken every single Future Selves run now. It was definitely a lot, but I enjoyed having something to like look forward to. I've definitely been trying to get more into running again, and I feel like this collection has really helped me. I feel like it has a very like low barrier to entry because a lot of other classes, like they set the pace for you, but this was very like your speed, like whatever your marathon pace is, you run it, and that's fine. So I definitely like that this is probably a little bit more chill than some of the other Peloton running classes. So I like recommend if you're newer to running, if you want to like try a running class, but you don't want to do something that's like HIIT or something that's going to be like super, super hard. And whenever there's recovery, she's always like, you can walk or run. And like, I walked a lot of it. So I definitely feel like it's very balanced. I also feel like you can just take the classes for the famous people that you're really interested in or the Peloton instructors that you really like. Like you definitely don't need to take all of them. They don't build on top of each other at all. But if you're just looking for something that you can like mindlessly go to, taking all of them is not a bad idea. Like I did it. I had fun. I learned a lot. I learned about a lot of new people. I don't follow a lot of famous people, so it was definitely interesting to hear what they were doing. So that is it for this video. Let me know if there's any other like running content you want to see from me. I'm definitely liking running more than cycling lately. So we'll see. That doesn't happen a lot. Like I kind of flip-flop back and forth, but I'm pretty into running right now. So if you've taken any good runs, let me know. And if you've taken any of the Our Future Selves runs, let me know your favorite. I would be curious. It's hard for me to choose a favorite. A lot of them were good. I feel like I liked the women guests more than the men. I don't really know why, but I really like Natalie Portman, Kim Kardashian, Allison Felix. Feel like there's something for everyone. So definitely let me know what your favorite is. I hope you guys are staying safe, having an awesome week, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.